Hi, Paul. How are you?
Oh, hi, Jacquelyn. How are you? How is your skiing going?
Skiing. Well, I didn't go skiing actually this week, but we went south, and there was in Massachusetts there was like a 8 inches, 10 inches, and in Portland there was absolutely nothing. So it was nice. We got like a winter wonderland, and then got to escape up to the nice bare roads and no ice and everything like that. It was great.
Oh, that sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
I went skiing. It was in Stowe. It was bitterly cold, and which is no problem with me. But there is a bit of a problem when it's so cold and so windy that they close the lifts, except for a couple, and then it turns into it's about as restful and pleasant and about as much zen as shopping at a Walmart the day after Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I totally understand.
No, I haven't done that, but still, I can imagine it being unpleasant.
Yeah.
And I'll do it again, but I have a feeling that I'm switching almost entirely to cross country, which is still gorgeous. And still,
Running type sport rather than more of like a skiing sometimes feels very much like I'm at an amusement park. Like that's really the energy it gives me. So cross country is different. Yeah, it can. Exactly. If the lifts are closed.
It used to be gorgeous. And there are still places where it is. And where I go is not. So, but
you have a nice house, you got the bookshelf, you got downtown Stowe, you have it's balanced out, I'm sure, and you got cross country.
Nice. So I'm not, but let's talk about this week.
Yeah,
in oncology.
Yes, in oncology, not in skiing. We're not a skiing podcast.
Yes, we're not a skiing podcast. Otherwise, we'll be supported. We'll be sponsored by equipment.
Yeah.
Manufacturers.
Sounds pretty nice. I don't know.
Yeah.
Get some REI. I'll take us through the headlines. Last week we had a really cool issue, a really awesome issue, but not so much to sort of report on the podcast here, because a lot of the things that we published last week were actually podcasts or something you can listen to online. So our cover story was Paul did a conversation with Anirban Maitra, the director of NYU Perlmutter. It's Perlmutter, Paul? Perlmutter. Okay.
It means mother of pearl.
Does it actually?
It does. It's...
Wow. Oh my gosh. Learn something. That's some fun cancer trivia or oncology trivia. That's what we're here for.
Just German, Yiddish.
Just German. Anyway, so we Paul talked to him about his stepping into the role as director. And our second story is huge. It is the first meeting of the NCAB ad hoc working group. We've covered that extensively as sort of the NCI struggled to figure out what its role was, when it, et cetera, et cetera. Basically, the group replaced NCI's former Board of Scientific Advisors. And now they are in charge of advising NCI on extramural research. So we did that happened on Thursday. It was like a semi full day meeting. And so we did publish NCI Director Anthony Latai's remarks, but that's going to be a huge part of our upcoming issue is what else happened at that meeting. So that's lots to plumb there. Very, very fun. There's a canine oncology session. There was a part about multi-cancer detection tests, and of course, former acting director Doug Lowy, and now principal deputy director, I believe. Doug Lowy also has his remarks. We also had a story about Black History Month, or in honor of Black History Month. Otis Brawley gave a incredible sort of explanation of his path to where he is in his career, starting in West Side Detroit. And basically how that sort of shaped his approach to oncology in his career as well. That is a really, really awesome episode. And we're going to have more Black History Month episodes as well. So that will be a weekly thing for the remainder of February. We had a guest editorial that was really interesting. It was about the impact of the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration on oncology and cancer outcomes. Not something we've ever covered before, but it was very, very interesting to see sort of this new perspective. And then, we had a lot of cancer policy. I'm not going to get into it, but the big reason we're here today is that this is a year anniversary of the In the Headlines, the Cancer Letter podcast. So we're not going to really dive into too much of what our previous issue was, normal, but we're going to just kind of wax poetic about podcasting.
Yeah. It's interesting because I can see how people want to use podcasting as their way of getting information and actually in presenting information. You can see why it's important right now because it's so human. At a time when so much of newscasting is becoming sort of less human, more technological, and even, God forbid, AI. And this is about as far as you can get away from AI.
Maybe a little too far.
Yeah. No, probably not. I mean, I listen to a lot of podcasts. It just sort of crept up on me that's. I mean, I also read the New York Times, but I don't know how my life would right now. How my both news gathering and really taking in the news would happen without podcasts.
Now, let's take a quick break to hear from our sponsors. Life moves fast. It's fierce, persistent, determined. At City of Hope Cancer Center, they are too. Their groundbreaking research and discoveries have impacted millions of lives globally. They're moving science forward with the hope, passion, and speed every diagnosis deserves for a cancer-free future. City of Hope, pursuing cancer cures at the speed of life. Learn more at cityofhope.org. I didn't really think about this until right now, but I think the fact that there's such a high volume of news, maybe it's just my learning style or whatever, but being able to just sort of listen while I do the dishes and do, when I'm doing other things that have to get done, but there's just a higher volume of things I need to know. Podcasting is very helpful. But I think you're touching on something a little bit more a little bit deeper where people want to hear me struggle to find the word deeper, even might take a little extra time. It's a little bit less polished, but it's so much more human. And it's so much, I think, more reflective of, there's a lot of news. I'm a little overwhelmed. I have to find the right word, that type of thing. And that's a big part of why people listen to any sort of human conversational content is to almost pseudo work through whatever they're working through. What is that word? Isn't that a therapy word? Transference. I think that means something else. That's a different thing. We're not doing that.
We're not doing transference.
But there's something like that where it's you kind of maybe projecting. I don't know, something like
projecting,
that.
Yeah.
But anyway, all that to say is that I think it's really valuable. And I think it's been valuable for me too, as the person podcasting. I guess I hesitated to say podcaster, but just having.
You're a podcaster.
I am. Yeah. It's a year-old title now. But yeah, it's nice to have sort of that continuing conversation, even if it didn't go beyond you and me and Claire and Sarah and, just to sort of process. I guess that was the word. Process is really what I was co-process. Something like that.
Yeah. Well, what I think is really useful is when you publish a story, a particularly important story, or really almost any story, there is, you hope, conversation that takes place after people read it. And this way we can be a part of that conversation and we can remove the barrier, which is a very artificial barrier between us as people who report news in a very traditional way and and our readers who are talking about it. So we're part of the conversation, and we have been. And I think just kind of, you don't get, obviously there's bias in the kind of feedback you get. People aren't going to stop you generally and tell you you're full of it and you should just stop. But most of the people who sort of talk to me about what react to it usually give very positive reaction to it. So bias, of course, yeah. But and also, what I've enjoyed is just bringing in sources.
Yeah.
Like, have a question. Well, we just happen to have Dr. So right here. Let's ask her.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. No, I love that. Yeah. We had some really cool guests specifically too, and they were sources. I'm sure we had people who weren't necessarily sources that were on the podcast. But most of the guests, I think, either our sources or for that particular story that they were talking about, or just our sources in general. Like our readers and our sources have a lot of overlap. But our
you would hope.
You would hope. True.
I don't read that. I'm just a source.
I forget I'm a trade publication.
No self-respecting fish would find itself wrapped in the cancer litter. That's Otis Brawley's favorite saying, or one of them.
Oh my gosh, Otis Brawley. There we go.
There you go. He shows up in the cancer litter a fair number of times.
Well, I fully lost my train of thought now. Oh, the guest. Yes. No, it's fine. It was a fun little detour. We had just really awesome guests with Cameron Rathmell comes to mind, of course, and Cliff Hudis from ASCO after they released their AI guidelines. And so it was really nice to sort of have them speak. I've always felt that, every interview I've ever done, I'm like, I know that my job as a reporter, I know that I have like a useful labor here to bring this to the readers, but in some ways nobody can say it better than you sometimes, with the hard science or really complex policy stuff, and so it's just nice to hear directly from the sources, like intonation and even just the fact that there's a conversation, we can interrupt and ask questions. And I'm a huge fan. That's one of my favorite parts of this job is interviewing. So it's just like more of that.
Yeah. No, that's kind of an amazing thing about being a science writer. People you talk to and people who read you are much smarter than you are.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So,
So let them, we'll just facilitate that, the high level conversations.
Yeah. I've been skating by on this for a long time. But seriously, this is an important self-deprecating humor aside. It's still really a privilege, this job. And it's interesting because we started two podcasts, right? The weekly podcast, which is what we were talking about right now, but also at the same time we started a monthly podcast called The Directors.
Yeah.
And that's a really important one too, for me at least.
Yeah, that's like your baby, I feel.
Yeah. What that means is, the whole purpose of that one was to bring cancer center directors together two at a time. And with me as a moderator, no moderator is really needed. But as a convener, I guess, and ask them, well, what's keeping you up at night, as you run your institutions, and then going from there, because I never write down the questions because I want to hear.
Yeah.
More than I want to, and I want to follow up on the answers to the first question.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what's important here is that it tells this community in a very important time to do it. It tells this community that it has more than one leader. It has more than just the NCI director. The leadership is all of the cancer center directors.
Yeah.
And that's a large number of people.
Yeah.
And having two of them at a time means that we don't really have them focus on their center alone. They're focused more on the kind of the intersection, and the intersection is going to be different just based on who they are.
Yeah, yeah.
And where they are and what they do and what they run. It kind of gets, it's also really entertaining because, as you said, these are people much smarter than I am. And it's a pleasure to hear smart people talk.
Yeah, totally. I wrestled with myself and to be like, no, they're not smarter than you.
Oh, please.
It's my instinct was to do that, but I was like, yeah, these people are brilliant. They're geniuses.
Yeah. Well, you're smarter than I am, and they may not be smarter than you are. So
we're not going to have this fight on the air.
Yeah, let's argue about it later.
Yeah, about who's smarter, but in a nice way.
It's fun to keep up with the media that exists, but I was just thinking about this. The Cancer Letter started out as a newsletter. As Washington newsletter is a long dead genre. There aren't any. We now refer to ourselves as a magazine. Mm-hmm. But in between, there were these periods in between, but we never did what was sort of what made sense to the majority of the publications. Yeah. Everybody was writing kind of brief articles or writing crap that the internet ultimately was able to provide, and that wasn't never our product. Yeah. So we've always just done things differently, and also we threw out this idea, which I think is one of the things that killed journalism, that that people want to read on sixth grade level, even if they're very smart. That's just nonsense. We killed that. We never really did that. Or that people want to read small tidbits. No. Yeah. Our stories can be 15,000 words, and we don't care if they're 15,000 words. And in fact, I've written 15,000 word stories, and I think you might have as well.
No, I think my longest.
Well, you've certainly done 6, 7.
Yeah, 6. I think the ODAC marathon must have been the longest, right? Especially for counting transcript words. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And the Q&As and the kind of when you start bringing together spoken word with written word at a time, just humanizing the news at a time when people are trying to dehumanize it and make a whole ton of money through AI, which is utter nonsense.
Absolutely.
Well, here we are. Here we are, and we'll be here as AI devours the world. Giving human voices of our own as well as the voices of our sources. Yeah.
Our community, which is, again, they're smarter. So,
And it's also interesting when you talk about some of the techie stuff. It's really nice to have a kind of a conversation. Yeah.
100%.
That approach of we started doing that some years ago. So it's always experimentation and storytelling. There's really nothing more complicated or more important than storytelling. So here we are.
We could go on a whole tangent about that. I'm going to have to.
Aren't you on it now?
I guess that's true. That's true. But I could keep going, and I will spare our listeners.
We will spare our patient listeners.
Our patient listeners, yes. We're thankful for you. Awesome. Well, thank you, Paul. I think that this was lovely. Is there anything that we missed?
I don't think we missed anything other than this is a great time to be a journalist.
A great time to be a journalist. As we said, storytelling is the finest of the arts.
Indeed. Noblest of.